Now, some people may think that all this cosmology stuff is a bit arcane, and anyway, what's it got to do with Christian faith? So, data do not speak for themselves. They need an interpretive framework, and the nature of this framework will depend on one's presuppositions that you bring to the interpretation. And a good example of this is the courtroom. In fact, a good example of all three things is the courtroom. We have one set of evidence. We have two interpretations based on two different presuppositions. One presupposition is that the defendant is guilty. The other presupposition is that the defendant is innocent. And the two interpretations interpret the data on the basis of those two presuppositions. Now, you might ask, well, how do they measure the distance to these stars and things? Because you obviously can't sort of put a tape measure up to it. Well, they have a number of different techniques, and they overlap. So by using this overlapping process, they can extend the measurement out to quite some long distance. So for example, we've got these four objects spaced out like that. There'd be a method that we could use to measure the distance to the first one, and then there might be a method we could use to measure the distance between the first one and the second one, and so on. So we can get all the way out to the furthest one. For example, for close-in things, you can use the concept of parallax. So when the Earth is in one point in its orbit, you can measure the angle between the sun and the object you want to find how far away it is. And then 6 months later, you can do it again from the other side of the orbit. And then knowing the width or the diameter of the Earth's orbit around the sun, you can do some geometry and calculate this distance here. So the Big Bang has a lot of problems. And this got particularly bad enough that several scientists wrote an open letter to the scientific community that was published in the New Scientist in 2004. In it, they said, among other things, the Big Bang today relies on a growing number of hypothetical entities, things that have never been observed. Inflation, dark matter, and dark energy are the most prominent examples. But the Big Bang cannot survive without these fudge factors. I remember those from high school. What is more, the Big Bang theory can boast of no quantitative predictions that have subsequently been validated by observation. But that's what science is all about.